the read right now from Jason Furman, the former Barack Obama Economic Council chairman, also a Harvard professor. Jason, good to have you. I caught your comments, I think it was in the Washington Post today, where you summed it up, I think, pretty nicely. We're at this weird moment where you sort of want the economy to slow, you just don't want it to go into reverse. Well, if the retail sales numbers are to be believed and they stick around for a while, it's not going into reverse. How long do you think that lasts?
I don't know. It's a strange economy right now. Inflation is terrible, but consumers are continuing to spend money, in part money that they had saved up from the last year or two, the stimulus checks and other things. Where it goes, I don't know, but we need to be more aggressive about bringing inflation down.
You've also said, though, that the stagflation threat level, so much that we associate with the Carter years, is the highest in a long time. And I'm wondering if you see that, happening where the economy slows, prices rise. We're certainly at the point where prices are rising. That's not disputed. But the economy is remarkably holding up fairly well. What do you make of that?
Yeah, the economy is going to slow, of course. Last year it grew 5.5%. That was because it was coming out of a deep hole. The question is, how much does it slow? If this year we had 1.5%.
I'm sorry, I just want to be clear. If we have a contracting quarter, Jason, the quarter we just finished, that would reach, for some, the technical definition of recession. You've had back-to-back negative quarters. Do you see that?
We did not have a recession in the first half of this year. Even if we have two negative GDP prints, job growth was incredibly strong, consumer spending was decent. Some of those numbers may ultimately be revised. Now, I can't give you a confident answer for what's going to happen in the next 6 months. I'm a little bit less worried about the next 6 months than I am about next year. It takes a while for the Fed's policy to have an effect, and that policy is definitely contractionary, and it's definitely starting to work its way through the economy. I don't think, though, quite yet to a recession, but I'm not sure.
Much has been made, Jason, about the former, top economic officials to Democratic presidents, Larry Summers, who served under Bill Clinton, of course, you served under Barack Obama, who worry that the administration is not responding aggressively enough to this or acknowledging the severity of the problem. You didn't say that outright, but you did talk about the wage contraction going on here, or that the situation for real wage growth was terrible, that adjusting for inflation, because wages are running up at a 5 or 6% clip, but as you've also reported, inflation's running at a much faster clip. That's generally not a good environment for a president who seeks a second term.
Yeah, not a political scientist, but look, this is what should be done on inflation. The Fed should move aggressively to raise rates. The administration should do what it can, for example, reducing tariffs on things coming from China. Congress should do what it can. It should pass deficit-reducing legislation.
But
I'd love to see Joe Manchin.
I take it by that you don't mean new spending, right? You don't mean some of the things that, for example, Joe Manchin shot down.
Look, if you want to raise $1 trillion and spend half of it and use half of it for deficit reduction, that would help too.
But they're not going to do that.
I hope they have a conversation about how to look. I think there's things we need to do. I don't want to see millions of people cut off their health insurance at the end of this year. I don't think that's a great way to control inflation. So do overall deficit reduction, but do things to protect the people who otherwise are most vulnerable and really would be hurt if their subsidies go away.
There's been a lot of criticism, fairly or not, and this often happens when things are not going well of the administration and the point people they have in charge of these economic issues, Jason. And much has been said that they need a seasoned team to come in. Your name comes up, certainly Larry Summers' name comes up. I know you got this very cushy job at Harvard and all of that stuff. But what do you think of that? If they asked you, called you up and said, Jason, could you come out here and help us out, you would say?
Look, I love my current job, so I'm not moving to Washington. He also has excellent people working for him. It's a very difficult situation, both economically.
Do you think
the political
really,
context
do you think the economic team is excellent? Because that might be one weak link in the whole thing.
I think he has a lot of I think his top economic advisors are excellent. I think they're just dealing with a very hard situation economically and also politically. It's hard to work with this Congress and get things done that you might want to help. But yeah, I don't think it's a lack of talent. It's complicated.
A lot of people say it stops at Janet Yellen, and from there it gets worse. You disagree?
Oh, his director of the National Economic Council, Brian Deese, is outstanding. One of the most brilliant economic policymakers I've worked with. C.C. Rouse, his CEA chair, is just excellent and outstanding too. So I don't think this is a lack of quality advising. There's not, this is a really, really difficult situation.
But if they're so smart, they should be up to the task.
I mean, I'm happy to keep talking positively about that.
All right, all right. All right, so the president calls you. It sounds to me like you'll have a nice conversation, but the answer would be no.
I don't think he's calling me. I don't think he needs to, but I do think some policies, need to be, more policies are needed to come out of them.
All right, so electronically, I'm going to give you a fist bump. Thank you for coming. Jason, always good seeing you.
Seeing you.